Well, SML, the plush tuber, or I guess former plush tuber, who's had his ups and downs throughout his career. I'd suggest going back and watching the SML Eras series if you haven't done so already. Link in the description to a playlist with all of those. Those will sort of act like a precursor to this video. In fact, so will most of the SML discussion videos I've made before, such as the SML Problems series, but that's besides the point. I'll go over all of the eras in this video, but they'll be rather brief. Instead, I want to discuss mainly the important parts of SML's history. So without further delay, let's begin. So, in the beginning, there was the old era. Yeah. Look, I mentioned this in the old era video already, but this era is deservingly getting the footnote treatment. It's obviously important since it's the beginning of the channel, but at the end of the day, it was just every video leading up to Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventure Season 1. Speaking of which... now, this is where things truly begin. This begins the rise of SML from just another guy messing with plush toys to something a bit more. Sure, the first few episodes felt like Logan messing around, which... actually, yeah, that was kind of the whole point. Logan's whole goal was just to have fun and mess around here. This wasn't his job yet, and it wouldn't be for a long time still. So, why do I like Season 1? Well, honestly, it's just hilarious, while also retaining some semblance of an overarching story. Plus, Mom Luigi, played by Zeke, is probably one of the best characters in SML's history. And if this is Logan at age 13 and 14, surely this means that his later videos will be even better. Right? Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Season 2 was also very good, but this time there was a much more coherent story by the time we hit the middle of the season. The camera work and resolution was also much better. The entire series became that much more serious, also capped off with an amazing finale. I mean, I've said my bit about Season 2 so many times, but I'd just like to say it once more. This is Logan's best series, with a great story, high quality, but at the same time not soulless production values, and... okay, look, just go watch it if you want peak SML content. And you know what, speaking of peak SML content... everything from the first Mario and Luigi's Stupid Dumb Adventures episode up until, but not through, Bowser Jr.'s Macaroni is considered the classic era. This era does vary in a few aspects, but for the most part there are actually some really good videos in here. Once again, I simply must suggest watching these videos if you haven't already. You're missing out if you haven't watched these videos. There's also Black Yoshi and the Birds and Shrimpo Hunter in here, which, despite being their own series, I won't be mentioning as their own things, simply because we still have a lot to cover. As for favorite video of the era, that probably has to go to the Season 2 finale, followed by Baby Shrek or The Bird in terms of non-series videos. The Season 2 finale is important in particular, since that sent the series into a loop. Thus, should something happen to Logan in surgery, the channel would just loop forever. So, here's where the bad news comes in. We just hit the peak. That's right, only a few years in, we hit the peak of Logan's content. That's not to say that everything from here is doom and gloom, but yeah, this is the best we get from SML ever. I suppose it's similar to The Simpsons, where despite having over 30 seasons now, it peaked very early on in comparison to its current lifespan. But hey, it doesn't decline all at once. We still get some pretty good videos. But let's talk about the Junior era. The Junior era introduced, well, Bowser Jr., hence the title. This doesn't need to really be explained if you watched the Junior era video, but to summarize, Junior got a lot of new fans watching, with the impact on the channel being a decay into mediocrity for a while there. This represents the first fall of Logan. But wait, first fall? That means Logan returns to form for a while, right? Well, not really. As for why this era was such a fall, well, aside from the fact that for the longest time Junior was simply annoying, I think it also has to do with Logan's new schedule. Logan started a schedule which, for better and for worse, still lasts to this day, and effectively made this his full-time job. You'd think this being his full-time job would allow him to perfect more things, but I think the schedule kind of did him in here since it forced him to focus less on polish and more on ensuring a consistent schedule. I'd say in 2015, things sort of leveled off in the apartment when it came to quality. I'm unsure as to whether this was because Logan didn't lean so heavily into the Junior having toys angle, or if this was merely a coincidence, but things sort of leveled off. I'm not counting this as a rise though, since it's more where Logan should have been the entire time. This era, however, featured lots of Junior being annoying and demanding new regulars such as Chef PP taking places, and a large amount of filler. Oh, but we had some series in here too, like the Pokemon series, which was pretty much just more Junior videos. But hey, we also got Chef PP Quits, which was sometimes good. And Luigi's Mansion was actually pretty good until it was left on a cliffhanger. In fact, so were the Pokemon series and Chef PP Quits.
But you have to follow me.
Okay, man.
Hey, wait a minute, what happened? What happens next? Come on, let's see the next episode.
That's it.
What?
The show was cancelled after that.
But hey, Mario and Bowser's Stupid and Crazy Adventure was good, and actually completed. It actually had an overarching plot line, lots of humor, and overall acted sort of like a mashup of Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures Season 1's humor with Season 2's more serious story. And would you look at that, Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures Season 3 was released in this era too. I'm not exactly sure how that works if Mario went back in time, but okay! With Mario and Bowser's Stupid and Crazy Adventure being the perfect mix of Seasons 1 and 2, surely Season 3 will be great as well, right? Right? So, do you guys know about a sequel or a continuation that completely misses why people like the original? You've probably run into it at least once, and it can usually vary in quality. Half-Life 2 is a good example for me at least. Sure, it isn't a bad game, in fact I enjoy it for the most part, but I still miss the story that wasn't generic dystopia number 87, and that's something I feel was misunderstood between the original and the sequel. This belief that people want a super complex story. But what does this have to do with SML? Well, let's talk about Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures Season 3. Unlike Half-Life 2, which is still good in its own right, Season 3 is... well, let's just say Logan had very little to no understanding as to what made the original season so good. Season 1 was good for how silly it was, in part due to its status in being the original plush series on the channel, and having that sort of early YouTube vibe to it. Then we have Season 2, where we had a fairly smooth transition from Season 1's silly vibe to a bit of a more serious mood later on. And then Season 3 acts completely tone deaf by throwing all of that completely out the window, and kinda negates the whole impact of Season 2's ending. Haha, nope guys, that wasn't a time portal, that was a dimensional portal. Gotta love retcons, right guys? Season 3 also ditches the overarching and tied together plot points of Season 2 in favor of being much more episodic and situation based. While that isn't exactly bad, you see Bowser as a chef once. It's never mentioned again, it doesn't tie into anything, it's just there because, hey guys look, it's a different dimension. Wacky, huh? Also, side note here, but if Season 3 is really supposed to start off exactly where Season 2 left off, Mario's never seen Chef PP to begin with.
What's going on? Why is Chef PP bossing around Bowser? Harley and friends? Isn't it Charlie and friends? What's going on?
And at the end of episode 3, Mario's hat gets stolen, and we never get to see the ending. Until now, of course. Wait, what? Oh, sorry, I just wanted to break the fourth wall there. Sorry. While this kinda fits together okay with SML's more episodic style at the time, it fits terribly as a part of Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures. Logan had a perfectly good ending, but because he had forgotten what made the original 2 seasons so good, he put out a third season that failed to capture the appeal of the first two. It's even more upsetting when you realize that Mario and Bowser's Stupid and Crazy Adventures had come just a little bit before this, which ironically enough retained more of what made Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures good, despite being a spiritual successor. Season 3 felt way too much like any other SML video of the era. I mean, I made episode 4 feel like it was more or less part of season 2 for a good reason. Well, the Junior era was disappointing, but hey, we've leveled off entering into 2016. We may never hit a peak quite like the Classic Era for a long time, if ever, but we might hit another rise pretty soon. So long as Logan keeps the course and sticks to making increasingly more decent videos, so long as that stays the course, nothing can stop us now. Okay, so this weird character named Jeffy showed up in one video. He was pretty annoying, but you know what, no one likes him anyway, and oh, he kept appearing in more and more videos, until he eventually became a mainstay on the channel. Well, that's the next fall. Again, I'm not going to go into too much of this, as it was already covered in the Jeffy era. But to summarize, Jeffy did far more damage to the channel than good. Imagine all the issues that the Junior era had, but raise them to an 11.
The numbers all go to 11.
But hey, at least Jeffy didn't have Ghost 2 videos. Until he did, Jeffy was also the king of repetitive jokes here, thanks in part to Lance playing the character. Sure, Junior had some repetitive jokes during the Junior era, but it wasn't the same joke stretched out for minutes on end. But this character brought in more subscribers. Like, a lot more. Most of whom were kids, who got inspired by Jeffy's wacky antics. And, wow, things just got worse and worse from here. Now this is where I especially started talking about SML a lot. Sure, I had been before, but things especially ramped up with videos like SML's 2017 problems, as well as its sequels, videos I made about Logan getting demonetized, Logan having to move channels, even a video about Lance in there, and so much more. I know many have already watched those, so I'll sum it up here. Logan got in trouble with YouTube and got demonetized. Logan had to move channels. Twice. Sorry, 3 times now. Then we had the Patreon issue where Logan borderline scammed a bunch of people. Then we got the Good Morning America thing. What about the SML movie? That never happened. But hey, at least we got Mapp's version, which everyone should go watch after this video. And this all happened while Logan's quality got worse and worse. The main issues just entrenched themselves deeper and deeper. Things especially took a dip in the summer of 2020 though, where Chris wasn't present. For context, Chris has basically been the thing holding together modern SML. Chris has the best characters, such as Cody, Brooklyn Guy, the Lone Dolphin, etc., and for him to simply be absent for a couple months, well, to say it was difficult on the channel would be an understatement. And so Logan's channel fell once again, and I'd say it's debatable if it ever even recovered or not. Sure, Chris came back, but we also later on got more mediocre videos from Logan, despite Chris's return. We also got hits such as Pregnant Jeffy, which... okay, no. But Logan finally managed to hang on into 2021, where things were still on a more or less meh trend. And we got the Super Bowl problem, which was a rather mediocre video. But little did we know that this would be the final plush video, and the beginning of the next decline of SML. You see, you might have noticed this entire time I neglected mentioning something. Something important. Logan made puppets based on the characters in his videos, since he thought that COPPA would result in him being unable to use Nintendo characters for some reason. This luckily never happened, but eventually Logan got a letter from Nintendo telling him to stop using their characters. Well, supposedly Nintendo, at least. I already made a video about this earlier this year. The reason I believe it is from Nintendo is because I don't understand why Logan would ditch Super Bowser Logan, a channel that would make Logan far more money, just to go to a new channel. And this is the final decline of SML. at least in my mind. The puppets don't look good in my honest opinion, and I know plenty of people who don't like watching the videos because of it, and when they became a mainstay of the videos, many people just flat out left. Furthermore, Logan has had slumping views even since before the switch to puppets, but it's gotten even worse since then. Something Logan used to be able to accomplish within hours of uploading now takes him a few days, if it ever even gets there to begin with. The people who do watch the videos tell me that for the most part they're not any better, with maybe the occasional exception, much like how it was for years now with modern SML. Logan would make a good video from time to time, everyone would say Logan's back, and then the videos will return to the mediocre tier. Many people think that his channel's viewership will hit a sharp decline very soon. Whether that's by the end of the year or over the next couple of years, I certainly don't disagree with that argument. Now that we've talked about things into the present, and possibly future, let's now discuss where the decline began, and sort of reached a point of no return. We have 9 possible contenders. We have the video which immediately followed Mario & Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventure Season 2 Episode 11, that being Bowser's Milkshake. Well, I guess you could pull a technically correct on this one, since Season 2 Episode 11 was, at least in my mind, pretty much the peak of SML. I don't think that's really fair. So what else do we have? Well, how about the first Junior video, as the Junior era as a whole was underwhelming, to say the least. And besides, it started the whole formulaic Junior era video style, which still somewhat lasts to this very day. While also true, I don't think that's where things really became bad. Certainly not an irrecoverable tipping point. Okay, well, what about Mario & Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures Season 3 Episode 1? The video that effectively doomed Logan's once flagship series and stole way too many cues from the sitcom-style Junior era videos. It was certainly bad for the series, and let's not kid ourselves, it was just flat out pretty bad. However, it's not quite what we're looking for. These past 3 could be considered tipping points, but once again I'm looking for something where once the video released it was pretty much over. Well, obviously it would be Mario the Babysitter, right? After all, it introduced Jeffy, and I've ragged on about him for ages now. And that's true, but Logan could have also simply not used the Jeffy again. This was a very avoidable mistake, and to be fair to Logan, I don't think he really had the foresight to understand just what it would cause. Well, what about Jeffy's bad word? Obviously a bad video, and it really drove home the point of Jeffy being a bad character. I'm not going to lie, this is a serious contender for sure, especially compared to the previous options. But what else do we have here? There's Jeffy's Kids, which Logan was so proud of for some reason that he simply had to have it monetized, because who didn't love that video, right? Or maybe Jeffy's Tantrum, which inadvertently brought Logan's channel into relatively mainstream coverage. And finally, we have 2 fairly obvious ones. The Human Potion, which introduced the human puppets, and Rich Brooklyn Guy, which made the puppets permanent. So which one is it? Well, it's hard to pick just one, honestly. However, I said I'd pick a video that signified the point of no return. Yeah, it's gotta be Jeffy's Kids. While it isn't quite the same on its own, you can tell that this is the point where Logan's ego had been so overinflated that there was nothing to really save him. But now I want to talk about what this has all meant for Logan. I was talking to a friend earlier, and he described the letter from Nintendo as the culmination of Logan's poor actions. And you know what? It's true. While I'm hesitant to kick Logan while he's down, let's face it, none of this would have happened if he just stopped. Everyone makes mistakes, but I don't think I know of anyone who has intentionally shot himself in the foot more times than Logan has. He's lied to fans on numerous occasions, failed to listen to even simple advice like adding a warning screen to videos. He refused to listen to those telling him that Jeffy would lead to nothing but trouble, and those telling him that increasingly marketing in a just barely gets away with being not Nintendo method was a bad idea, or how about how he literally stole from people, or how his two-faced attitude would cause him to tell people that his content wasn't for kids on the one hand, while very clearly advertising to them on the other. What about all the things that were asked to be changed? Even just a few slight deviations could have changed his course for the better. I'm not saying him listening to fan advice would have caused him to never have hardship. What I am saying though is that there would have been far less issues, and maybe he wouldn't have had to get rid of the plushes. Back to what my friend told me, demonetization was the warning. Strike 1, SML loses its ads. Strike 2, SLL loses its ads. And Strike 3, Nintendo finds out about Logan. Logan was a unique set of circumstances, I'll admit. But it was also very easily preventable, which sort of makes it the saddest part. The reason I've told other plush tubers not to worry about Nintendo was because Logan was such a unique case. A case where he pushed the envelope to see just how much he could get away with, while putting in little to no effort to even make an attempt at preventing the issues from coming his way. So, to conclude, what caused the quality to slump? What changed from the peak of SML to the present day? Well, the most obvious answer has to be the video style. Mario & Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures, for example, was all about one giant adventure. The old SML movies and shorts would revolve around something happening, but not quite to the degree of Logan's modern videos. Videos made into the Junior era and beyond would generally rely much more heavily on a sitcom-style approach. This would also manifest itself with the same music, with the videos starting out in the same location every single episode, very similar jokes, and so on. Logan's content peaked when he was making one big series as one big adventure. A stupid and dumb adventure, one might call it. Everything declined when things started feeling like more and more of the same each video. During the Junior era, Logan found a formula that worked well enough, so his creativity quickly dried up. The next issue has to be his popularity. In the Jeffy era in particular, the popularity pretty obviously went to his head, thus making things far worse for him. What once was a reasonable attempt to please the fans turned into, well, you'll like the same content over and over for the rest of time. Otherwise, you aren't a real fan. Finally, the thing that the previous points have been alluding to, stagnation. Logan's content simply stagnated. Logan lost his creative spark, and that did far more damage than any one character could. Any switch to puppets ever could. The puppets were the catalyst for many to leave, myself included. But thinking about it, there was never any real opportunity in saving Logan if there was no creativity left from him. And that's how Logan's channel declined. Well, there you go. That was the rise and fall of Super Mario Logan, and what a tragic tale it was. Anyway, I'll leave you to do what you wish. Either stick around, go back in time, or go to another dimension. Do whatever. Enjoy the rest of your journey. Hey, wait. Where are you going? It's time to move on. It's time for all of us to move on.